Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special conversation that we're having for the 100 Women to Watch campaign. Now, this one, we're touching on a slightly different aspect of, all of this talk that we've been doing, like about business and about strategy, and about each other, right? This one, we're going to take a backseat to the conversation to allow someone special to step forward, and that is our inner child. So we're talking about how inner child healing could potentially be like this is a opportunity to present a case for it. It could potentially be the missing link in spiritual growth. And what we're going to hear from today, one, two, three, four amazing practitioners who have expertise in this area that can start to fill in that gap for us. Maybe if we have no idea what inner child healing is, or maybe we're just starting, on a spiritual growth path. Like that's the point of today's conversation, is to put those things together and to start to get informed as to how can I continue to grow? How can I continue to heal? So I'm gonna pick and poke at Sunshine, who just is an amazing embodiment of the inner child, having done so much work, leading retreats, creating products, doing all of the things to help people open up to their inner child. Sunshine, if you're available to comment, like what is an inner child and what does it even have to do with spiritual growth?
So I believe I am the inner child. I believe my inner child is my inner healer, my soul, the awakened child. I believe that she is divine love and that, again, she is my healer. I have done so much work on my own with healing myself. And she is my guru. She is my biggest teacher. She is my other half. She is the love of my life. And we nourish and inspire each other every single day. We have witnessed and experienced many, many forms of abuse and neglect and addictions and hardships, and we have embraced every single one of them and loved them for they were our biggest teachers, and they were our biggest lessons and our biggest experiences to allow us to learn from all of them and be grateful for all of them in order for us to heal, one, and in order for us to take our power back, because it was never theirs in the first place. And it also teaches me exactly what I don't want in my life, and love them for all the experiences and be grateful for them, because now I help people learn how to heal themselves and take their power back and remove the past. It's in the past. The future is unknown. It's not even promised. And all we have is right here, right now. And at this moment, my little girl is safe. And then the next moment, my little girl is safe. And we are standing in our truth and our authenticity every single moment of the day. We are not what people have projected onto us. We are divine love.
What a way to start this conversation, right? Like really setting the tone here, Sunshine. Just
Yeah.
appreciate you in
Thank
so many
you.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone else vibing, with that description? How does that align with who it is that you are in relationship to your inner child? Ellie, Amy Sue, Danny, what you got?
I'll go ahead and chime in here. One of the things that I love to, when I look at inner child, because when I started working with my own inner child, there were a couple of things that I kind of realized. And that was, my inner child is not just that version of me at 4 years old, 5 years old, 9 years old, right? My inner child is actually all the versions of me up to this point. So whether my inner child is that version of me last week, or that inner child that was me 5 minutes ago, or all the way back until I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, there, all those versions of me are needing that extra support, are needing to be heard, are needing to be seen as part of my spiritual journey. I don't believe you can really grow unless you have done some work with your inner children, whatever age that might be. I think there's a lot of focus sometimes on that younger version of ourselves, but there's the 13-year-old version of me just recently that I got to connect with and heal another aspect with her in visibility and being able to show up and be seen in a new way, in a more authentic way, instead of the way that she was kind of running the show. And so I do agree with Sue that she is my healer, she is my teacher, right? She is so beautiful and she teaches me so much, and yet there are parts of me still that are the inner child, that are broken, that are fragile, that still need to be heard and seen, and are fighting for that in different strategies that I took on, or different decisions that I made, or beliefs that I came to because of those experiences. And so I think inner child and spiritual growth go hand in hand. Like, if you are not working with your inner child, you might be scapegoating, right? You might be scapegoating some of these experiences that are part of that healing journey.
So when you say that about, like, the parts that might feel like broken or fragile and stuff like that, does that mean then that we need to fix it?
I wouldn't say personally that you need to fix it. I think any of the healing work that we do is part of us understanding that aspect of ourselves and understanding what came into light. So the decisions that we made, I don't think we need to fix it. I would never look at my inner child and be like, you need to be fixed, because that's what everybody else told me. Everybody else told me that whatever happened or whatever was done was wrong, or I shouldn't have done that, right? And so I don't believe that we're fixing ourselves in any way, shape, or form. We are actually stripping away the things that helped us disconnect from ourselves. So I wouldn't say fixing, I would say connecting even deeper than we already are to ourselves.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Amy, Sue, Ellie, what are your takes on this? Do you agree?
For me, I mostly agree with what both the ladies said. I believe that our inner child is the innocence of us. It's the original aspect of us, who we were before we got tainted by the world. And what happens is there are aspects of that get separated from us. And when that happens, we get to go back, we get to see, we get to validate, we get to remind that aspect of us how beautiful they are, that they're divine, that they are love, that they are peace, that they are joy, that they are those things that never changed, that just because an experience happened and they took on this new identity in order to survive or protect themselves, or whatever the case was. It's different case by case scenario, but whatever their reasoning was, they now get to essentially be heard and seen by us. They get to be remembered by us. And in that remembrance, we are truly connecting with that aspect of us that has always been innocent. A great mentor of mine always says that we should be like little children. And what that really means is because children are innocent and curious. They don't take on the views of everyone else, right? Like, when you're really in the beginning, that's what you are. But you get told so many things, or things happen, and you don't know how to navigate in this world because you've been so babies are self-absorbed. Like, when we come into the world, we are very centralized inward. And as we are becoming outward, as we're blossoming into the world, we don't know what to do. It's new. And there's all these things that are told to us and all these experiences that we have. And we kind of forget to stay inward, to stay true to ourselves. And that's what happens. And as time goes on, we get to go back and we get to reclaim that part of us. And in reclaiming that, we get to have the truth that we always were. And I also agree that it's not about fixing, it's about removing the blocks to the truth of what you always were. You've always been love. You've always been divine. You've always been truth. You've always been joy. You've always been power. Those things don't change just because you take on a different identity from some moment that happened or something that you were told by someone who's supposed to know more than you. You get to undo that. And in that, and really, it's just about laying it down. Oh, that wasn't true. You mean I don't have to carry that anymore? I can have the freedom that I've always been. And there's this truth that emerges. There's this joy, this eternal spring of love that just kind of naturally bubbles up when you're willing to look with curiosity and release those things that were never true to begin with.
I'm so curious because you're bringing up some really great points here about like how we kind of get mixed up, like, oh, I thought this was mine, so I picked it up again. But like, how does that even happen if we have this capacity to really experience ourselves with, this lens of innocence, which is what essentially, this inner child that sounds like you're describing, right? Then how does it get mixed up with all of the extra stuff in the world? And how do we take on that so that way we can kind of generate some awareness and let it go again?
I would say when we're born, we only know ourselves. And when you open up, then you have to learn how to navigate with others. And it's in that learning how to navigate process that you lose touch with your reality. Because then you're told you have parents that you basically, I can't survive without them, right? Like I literally cannot survive without them. And so if they tell me something that goes against what is true to my nature, in order to survive, I am going to have to disassociate from the truth that I know. I will have to turn away from that and I will have to take on what they tell me, because if I don't, I cannot survive. There becomes survival mechanism kicks in, right? It's protective, it's the ego, whatever you want to call it. I have to live. And these parents or other adult figures in my life, they're essentially the ones that are taking care of me. I cannot take care of myself at that point in time. So if they tell me that I'm stupid, but I don't really think I'm stupid, but they're telling me that I'm stupid, I'm going to have to agree with them. Because if I don't agree with them, which means I have to deny my truth, I have to deny myself, I have to turn away from myself, right? And every time I turn away from myself, I'm losing touch with myself. And it doesn't take very long till you don't remember who you are anymore. And if something really tragic happens to you, like oftentimes can happen in a childhood, then there's disassociation. I will disassociate from it. To protect myself, there's a split that will happen, right? Sometimes I'll lose the memory. There's lots of lost memories that can happen. You'll actually lose the memory. You no longer even know what happened. You can go into an experience and be horrifically abused and walk out the door and you no longer even remember what just happened to you. And you won't remember till 20, 30, 40 years when you're in a position where your body can actually bring it up and you can experience it and you can go through it in a safe way. You couldn't back then. So it's literally erased from you, which is honestly, it sounds terrible, but it's really an amazing thing that our bodies can do. It's amazing how well we can protect ourselves. And there's a time when that is necessary. In those times as a child, you have to be able to do that in order to survive. And then there's a time in your adulthood it no longer works. These things that you have hidden, these ideas that you have taken on, now they have become blocks. They have become blocks to the very essence that you are. So what once protected you now has to be released so that you can remember the truth, right? And so I would say that it's really about what happens. Like it's the body's way of protecting you. It's the ego's way of protecting you. It's not necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing. It's just what it is, right? But we are told all these things are bad and I can't. And so then we rail against it. Like instead of getting curious, curiosity is the answer. If I can just get curious, if I can step outside of it, okay, maybe this isn't me. Maybe this is just something that happened. And what did I think about that? And what did I tell myself about that? And what have I made that mean about me? And what have I made that mean about other people? And is that really true? And what can I do about that now in this situation? What is that little me really need to know? What did it need to say in that moment? What needed to happen for it to be okay? So now I can be that, right? I can let that happen. I can be that to that child. And as I am that to that child can release that and remember the truth. And so I really think that, I don't know if that really answers your question. I'm trying to, but that's what came.
You're doing great. You're doing such a great job. It's bringing up more questions, right? And I think that's the point of this conversation. If we can kind of like get, at least like a little like hook into a connection, with this thing that we're talking about called an inner child, maybe that child has questions. Like there's a whole lot, that can be inspired by this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
So I really thank you, Amy Sue, for what you shared. Sunshine, you got something?
Well, just what Amy Sue said, there are conditions, there's generations of conditions of what they were taught, and then they're teaching us. And then, like she said, we were born completely innocent, every single one of us, even our abusers, and they were taught how to abuse people. So they were born divine love too. And we have to remember that and love them for where they're at too. But it's all conditions. It's all conditions and generational stuff. But when you clear that and when you put all that down and go back to yourself, go back to your true essence, your innocence, that's when you rebuild from your foundation up with all of your versions of yourself back to your truth and standing in your authenticity. Yeah. I'm ready to hear what Ellie has to say. What does she have to say?
Yeah, so very similarly, I mean, along the lines with what you all are saying, I think the inner child is this crystallized version of ourselves that it's still living inside of us.
Yeah.
And so for me, the inner child, I do give her an age, so it goes up to 12, and then, it just helps me understand better. And then I have my inner teenager, and then I have my inner young adult. And so, but that version of myself, that is the inner child, was the purest version of myself in the beginning. And so it's born with, just being love and divinity in its essence. But then we go through all these challenges, we start learning different things. We start getting limitations downloaded into us. We start getting blockages in our emotional system. And then we receive these wounds, mostly from our parents, but really everybody around us. Mm-hmm. And so now we have, along with everything else that we learned, so that we can survive in this life, now we have a set of challenges that we have to conquer in order to get to where we really want to go in this life. And so I feel like otherwise it wouldn't be a contrast. Like we are in this dimension experiencing this contrast. And so all of these during our childhood has to happen in order for us to have that contrast from the divinity and the unconditional love that we are in our essence. And so as we go on in life and we start learning other things and we start remembering our nature, then we can come back to that essence that we are.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, we can even look at this from that, what you just said, Ellie, in that space of like, when we're born, as everybody has said, innocent. In my belief system and how I see the world is that we're here for a reason. We're here for our soul to learn something, to gain some insight, to do something, whatever that might be, whatever our soul's journey is. And so from that kind of concept, when we arrive here as that somewhat of a blank slate, right? Somewhat of a blank slate. And there's a lot of remembering that happens throughout our lifetime. And that is our journey. That is our spiritual growth. And so this idea of working with your inner child and connecting back to that nature is so important, because we want to evolve. Our soul came here for a reason. It came here to learn something. And so we go through these experiences in order to receive new information, gain new understanding. And I mean, if you want to get even more into this, a little bit of the karma, right? working through some of the karma from past experiences that you may have had. Like, this is why this journey is so important in part of this idea of growing. I think that's 100% of why we're here. It is, our journey is spiritual growth. That's what the purpose of life, from my belief system, is to grow and to learn and to understand and to fully experience the human experience, which is not all rainbows and sunshines all the time. There is other aspects of life that we came here to learn. And I mean, that's where I'm at with that. But I would love to hear from you ladies, this concept around fun and joy. I have found that people are struggling to connect to that energy of fun, right? They're like, I'm serious all the time. I just want to have fun, but they're not allowing themselves to have fun. Would you say that that could be connected to your inner child?
Yeah. That's another guy.
Everybody's like, yes.
But that's it, you know, our true, you know, go back to that innocent child. They were love, they were fun, they were free, they were joy, they were bliss, you know, and that's huge, huge. And that's the divinity in us, is that we are joy, we are love, we are bliss. And getting back to that moment is nirvana, you know, that's the space. And my license plate says love bliss. Because Kai knows me. Like, I have a van that I painted butterflies and dragonflies and fairies all over. I have them all over my body. You know, I'm a walking billboard of color and bliss, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be nourishing and inspiring ourselves and allowing that to overflow to each one of us. I make my own clothes. Like, I have, you know, a big heart on my chest, you know, and it's just, you know, I'm a walking child in an adult body. You know, I'm being curious. I went yesterday to a park and they had peacocks, and my friend that's here for a retreat says, well, will they bite us? And I said, I don't know, let's find out. And I put peanuts in my hand and I allowed the peacock to bite my hand, and I was like, yep, they'll bite you, you know, but with no fear. And I giggled about it after, you know, the fact. So that's where we're supposed to be, is in that joy and that bliss. Yeah.
Totally. And I think it's very important that, you know, sometimes the experiences that we have can be so traumatic. And, you know, I can touch on a little bit of my own experience, because it was the reason why, you know, my joy went away at some point in my life. Like, when I was 16, I pulled out all the clothes that I have in my closet except for anything that was black. And I wore only black clothing, mostly long sleeves and long skirts, for like 4 years. And then, you know, when I went back and I analyzed why I did that, it was because I just felt numbed. I didn't want to be seen in that moment. And so later on in life, in my 30s already, I was not really a happy person. I was not happy with my life. But what I had to go back and do was so difficult that it almost felt more painful than the pain that I was experiencing, until I realized, okay, if I want to experience true joy in my life, I have to go and revisit my past for a little bit, and I have to heal the relationship with my mother so that I can experience that joy again. But a lot of people get caught up in that trauma, and they don't know, they don't have the resources, you know, the emotional resilience to go back and heal from that traumatic childhood.
I'm so curious, because there's a lot in what you just said, Ellie, and also, you know, that everyone is really bringing up, is that we're talking about like healing and the spiritual aspects of inner child work. And like, I'm just, you know, I'm a curious person. I'm like, well, how come when we hear inner child work, we don't immediately think of, oh, I need to do some physical healing. Maybe I need to go, to the playground and play more. Or maybe we think of, like emotional healing. Oh, maybe I just need to, like, it's just like for some reason there's this connotation that goes directly to spirituality. And then I'm curious, why do y'all think that is?
Well, I do a beautiful workshop called the Joyful Workshop. And I just announce it as connecting to your inner light and, just, foo-fooing it. And they all come. They all want to feel the joy. And I go into, I do hypnotherapy, brain spotting, and meditation, whatever. And I get them in this beautiful, deep state of consciousness. And I bring them back to that inner child, and they're all crying and experiencing, but you have to feel it to heal it. You have to go deep to feel this. And then I bring them to the joy, and at the end of the workshop, we're dancing, and everything. But, when they're done with the experience, they're like, what the hell is that? I'm like, welcome to the Joyful Workshop, because again, you have to feel it. You have to get whatever you shoved down into your body, all your experiences, all your pain, all your trauma. It needs to come out of your body. You have to heal from the inside out. And that's when everything starts clearing, But you have to go deep. You have to go into the shadows. You have to go into the darkness to heal it. I have some clients that are afraid, that they're going to cry for the next 10 days. And I go, so what? It's 10 days of your life. Get over it. Feel it, heal it, and cry. Don't judge yourself. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to feel it, because it's temporary. Everything is temporary. Our emotions, our feelings, our situations, our relationships, everything is temporary. So if you have to cry for 10 days, cry. Hold yourself, comfort your version of yourself, wherever you are. I call her my inner healer, because that just arranges all areas, all ages, So yeah, feel it, heal it.
Yeah, there's a quote out there. I think you all might have seen this on social media. It says something like, as a child, what happened to me was not my fault, but as an adult, it is my responsibility to heal it.
Yes.
So, and that entails going back into, like she said, your shadows, the darkness, the deep work.
Yeah.
Well, I also think like what you, go ahead, Amy, go for it.
Oh, you can go. You can go, and then I'll go.
Okay, I was just going to say, just like what you said, Sunshine, I think is the important part is that you have to go through the experience, right? So a lot of people think when they do this work that they work with their inner child, they're going to get stuck in that place of that darkness or that more low, what do you call low vibrating energy, like whatever that space. They might get stuck there and they don't think they can come out of it. And so the fear is like, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to keep it shoved away like I have for many years and not hit it. But you hit it right on the nail. It's an experience. It's going in and coming out. And that's what people like all of us here on this panel are here. That's what we do. We help you come out. We help you go through it. We hold you so that you can come out of that. And as you said, I'm 10 days of crying. How many years have you not? Has your poor inner child been afraid to cry or not able to cry? And you're going to give yourself 10 days. I mean, even if it is just 10 days to cry and to hold her and to reparent, right? I hear a lot of people talking about like reparenting the inner child, giving your inner child what she never received when she needed it. So let's go through the experience. It's not as scary, I think, as a lot of people put energy into it. It really is. I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say that it's rainbow and sunshines, but what I am going to say, you are going to have a different feeling about it and a different experience with it, which is the whole entire point of it, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I was just going to add two things. One, I think the reason why people automatically think spirituality when you think of inner child work is because your inner child is that aspect of you. It's the
Your
truth of
soul.
you. It's your soul. Yeah, it's your soul. And so like there is a part of you that even if you don't know, you know. Like we don't know what we don't know until we know that we know it. And then it's just it is the truth. Truth is truth, and it transcends everything. Whether you know it or not, it doesn't change the truth. And so when people hear it, there's this automatic like knowing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have to go there, right? It's like your ego gets very defensive because it's like, no, I'm gonna die if you go there, right? And so all of your protective mechanisms come up, and then you also have different aspects of you, like the inner protector. Like when you start thinking about going in there and doing that work, it's scary because you don't know. You're about to tap into something that is innocent. There's this insatiable need to protect the innocence that you are, right? I've lost it. I don't want it to go away. I would rather hide it. I would rather protect it. I need to keep it safe. There's all of these feelings that happen that you need to be able to explore before you can even get to the little inner child, right? You've got to deal with that little protector. You've got to there's other aspects of you that you're going to have to face sometimes. It's like a journey to get to the child. Sometimes the child's just not automatically there, like, oh, hey, how are you? I've been waiting. Sometimes the child is hidden in a cave somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they don't trust you because you abandoned yourself. You abandoned them. There's a lot of processes that need to happen, which is why it's so important. The ability to be able to go in there safely, right? So like I always say, you got to find somebody that you really trust. Like this isn't work. I mean, you could do it on your own, but I don't recommend that you do that kind of work on your own. I really recommend that you have someone that you can really trust, that can hold that space with you, that can be there with you, that can be that second witness, that can be that validation, that can lead you and guide you so that you are able to just really focus on that work at hand so that you can ask those questions. Because when you get in there, all your mechanisms are going to come at you. And when you have somebody else that can help you kind of go through that and navigate through that, then it helps you to be able to get back to that place, back to that center, to focus, to know what to say, to know what to do with your little child. Like, and your child is going to act like you. You know, when you get in there, if you were a child that just followed the rules, then your child's going to be pretty easy. If you ran away, your child's going to be a runner. If you were combative and argued all the time, then your child is going to do that because it's you. You know, they're not these different beings. They're you, and they're going to act like you. And so how you are is how they're going to be, you know? And I think the most important thing is permission. So many times we have shut this part away so long that it's scary, and sometimes we just have to give ourselves permission. What if I just looked? What if I just took a peek, right? I don't have to stay there. I don't have to do anything. But what if I just got a little curious about it and I just was willing to take a peek at that? What if I wanted to just make a little contact with my child? You know, what if I wanted to say, hey, how are you? How you doing down there? You know, just anything so that I can start to build that relationship with that child, because your child really is you, and it's a part of you that you have hidden from or ran from or protected or all of the above. It's different with each person. That's what you find out when you go in there. They'll tell you. They are very vocal. They will tell you why they're upset with you, what you've done, what they need. You know, they want to heal. They want to be whole. They want to be kids again. They've been stuck in this place, and they couldn't be innocent, and they couldn't be that child. They couldn't play tea anymore. They couldn't, you know, a lot of times when you do this kind of work, what you find in the end is all of a sudden you're going to want to start doing things. Like I tell people, you got inner child cravings. You know, the food that you liked when you was a kid, the sweets you liked, the drinks you like, you might have a craving just like when you're pregnant. You need to go and honor that, because that's that little child in you saying, hey, you said you were for me. I want some lemon heads. You know, I need to go get the lemon heads and eat the lemon heads, because that's what that person inside of me is wanting now. That's what my inner child is calling for. I want to go do tea party. I need to go get some little tea set and sit down and do some tea parties with my little teddy bears, because that's what that part of me is calling. It didn't get to do it anymore. And it's wanting me to live like that again. I need to be like a child again. And when I do that, and when I'm willing to let my child do that, then the adult in me, guess what happens? The adult in me all of a sudden isn't scared anymore. The adult in me all of a sudden is like, hey, you know what? I want to go try this new thing. I want to learn how to fly a helicopter. I want to learn how to do whatever. And all of a sudden I'm doing those things because my inner child is free and I'm free.
Yeah.
But if my inner child is stuck and in prison, then I'm in prison, because we are the same.
That's right.
We really are.
Yeah.
We just have forgotten that, you know?
I love that you said imprisoned, because I always say I had 6 abusers, but my 7th abuser was me. I was the one who was abusing myself and imprisoned myself because I thought I was protecting myself, but I really put myself in this box, this cage, because I was so scared I was going to experience the trauma again. And our traumas are never repeated exactly the same way. Our experiences are always different experiences. But when I realized I was the one who put up the walls. I was the one who put up the prison bars, and I was the one who could set myself free. So that's where the turning point came, was like, oh, I was the abuser. Now I am my healer. I am my own healer, and I can set myself free.
It's incredible what a powerful reframe and some healing will do, right?
Yeah.
We've got, to your point, Sunshine, we've got a question here. Teresa says, hello, everyone. I'm relating to all of what you're bringing to the table. However, my question is, after we have gone through the inner child healing, but the past traumas and the PTSDs still hide in the background, we can get triggered into a low vibrational state that can be difficult to come out of. Not all of us have support systems around us. So what is your advice or tools that you can use to come out of inner child triggers? And Teresa notes, yes, I've gone through deep healing and have authored 2 books on the topic. So what can we offer to Teresa and anyone who's maybe in a similar situation, about how can we, pretty much support ourselves?
Well, usually if you're triggered, you have not healed that part of you. When you start to feel defensive and you start to feel the pain, you have more layers and there's always layers to heal. And instead of reacting to that trigger, stop, pause, and ask your little light, ask your little soul, what does she need right here, right now, in this moment? What is this person showing you? What is this trigger? What is the lesson that you need to learn? What do I need to heal in this moment? And pausing and going within and asking yourself what you need is huge. And instead of reacting in withdrawal, instead of acting in anger and in defense, pause and ask yourself what you need and go in love. Go in love. React with love, period. That is your little girl telling you, that is your body telling you that you need to heal something and you need to change your reaction. Instead of reacting with fear, react with love. And that's one of the biggest tools that I will share. Anybody else?
I'd like to share. Can I share a personal story?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because I feel like if people know a little bit about what I went through, then they can understand, how I formulated my opinion. So I was abused as a child, physically abused. My mom abused me all my life. Half of my life. So I'm 43 now. So my mom used to beat me up when I was little, and it was really tough, for a child, especially when I was throughout the investigations that I have done with some of my family members. Some people say that these started when I was 2 years old. So as a 2 year old, I was already, receiving this physical pain, and there's a lot involved in here because I never want people to think the worst about my mom. My mom was mentally ill, and she just did not have the mental resources. She did not have the emotional resources, and she was also perpetuating patterns, that she had learned. And so, but it was my story and it traumatized me. And when I was older, I was experiencing all the consequences from this abuse, from rejection, unworthiness, low self-esteem. I mean, you name it. And so at some point, like I mentioned earlier, I said, I have to heal from this if I want my life to move forward, because I had big dreams. I wanted different outcomes in my life, but for some reason, no matter how I tried to manipulate the circumstances, nothing was changing because I was holding on to all that pain. I was holding on to all that resentment, and I needed to go back and revisit that. And so I started doing, the inner work, and I went really deep into it. And like the lady in the comments mentioned, even after doing the inner work, I was still experiencing, and this is a question that I had for myself just as recent as a year ago. Why do I still see the effects, of that abuse in my life when I not only went and healed from that, but I transformed that story into a beautiful story. So my mom and I, for the last 7 years that she lived, we had a beautiful relationship, and we are three siblings, and I watched her die. I watched her take her last breath, holding her hand. So I think that not only, it had a beautiful ending, but in my personal life, like sometimes I experience reactions. I see those patterns coming up, and I had to revisit this for myself. And so this is a very simple example that we have all seen. But you see this paper over here, and this paper is flawless right now. But if I go and do this, and then I try to bring it back to the form, even if I say, I'm sorry, even if I try, it will never come back to the previous state. And so the thing that answered that for me was I had to do some work in my nervous system, because my nervous system had been shattered from that abuse. And even when I went back, like I said, and healed all of that, and built a beautiful relationship with my mom, there were scars in my nervous system. So I had to go and do that. Was a separate, assignment for myself. And so when I did that, then I saw more improvement. But like Sunshine said, there's always going to be layers, and you don't know when they're going to come up. Maybe when I'm 65 one day, something will trigger me and show me again, oh, you didn't, so there's always going to be layers. But when I understood that, and when I did the work for myself to heal my nervous system, I really had a breakthrough. So that's something that I would truly, truly recommend, especially with people with deep trauma. Do some work on your nervous system.
I love it. I would say, Teresa, first off, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, because authoring 2 books on the subject means you're doing the deeper work as well. I noticed when you wrote in the comments, I go into withdraw and non-reactive. That is a pattern, right? That is a pattern that your inner child learned somewhere along the way, that's how you deal with whatever that is, whatever that trigger is for you. That's how you deal with it, right? You go into withdrawal, you hide. Like, I used to shut down completely. Like, they would get too much and I would just shut down and like nothing. So I get, like, there's patterns, right? We all have a way that we've learned to work through these things. So first off, that's a pattern. So identifying that your pattern is to go into withdrawal, your pattern is to go into non-reactive, so that way you're aware that, like, okay, when I start to do this, this is a pattern. And if you want to break that pattern, the first thing in anything we're doing, whether we're trying to break a habit or do some type of healing on something, is to first be aware that there is a pattern, or there is something there, right? So for me, when I am doing that type of work, my goal is always to have a different relationship with whatever that incident is. So whatever that memory or whatever that thing that it's pulling me back to, I want to have a different relationship with it. I don't want it to sting like it once did. And so that's always my goal, to get to that point, whether it's for myself or for my clients, to get to the point where it doesn't sting. It does, because we're not going to forget it. Like, I don't know about you ladies, but you will never forget. You will never forget the experience, but how you relate to it is what we want to change, so that it's not affecting you in the present, in the now. So I would 100% agree with Ellie in the sense of your nervous system. So you want to talk about tools. So one of the things that I would recommend for anybody, for Teresa, and for anybody that might be afraid or getting stuck in that trigger, is to, as Sunshine also said, is to, ask your inner child. So I like to bring my inner child in to, like, my meditation, or to imagine myself in a circle or a place that feels really safe and neutral for me. And I bring her in, but I also bring all other aspects of myself, because there are insights that my inner child has, but there are insights that my emotional body has, my physical body has, my mental body has, my spiritual body has, and my ego. And oftentimes when I go in, the ego's like trying to protect. She's like, nope, you can't enter, as to the earlier point with Amy Sue of, like, they're going to be you, right? And so oftentimes, like, when I bring everybody in, everybody has a little bit of a different perspective on what we've just experienced, on what just happened. And so just sitting in that space and asking each one for their perspective on what they see or what they experience from those different aspects really helps me get a bigger understanding of what is happening. So that simple little thing of just looking at it from all of their perspectives. The second thing I would say is breath work. I am a huge fan of somatic breath work, where you're actually allowing yourself to move the body, to move through, right? To move through the experience, to move through and to release it on an energetic level and get a new understanding on the mental plane. So I would recommend some somatic breath work. I know there's a bunch of, videos on YouTube. I have some that you could listen to that can help move through those emotions, so that your body actually also gets to release it. But the really beautiful thing is that it helps regulate your nervous system, and it also helps you learn to feel safe. So when you've been in this triggered space, and then you teach your body it's okay to be in the triggered space, and I know how to calm myself down. That's what somatic breath work is all about. And I know there's tons of different kinds out there, but the goal of it is to allow your body to express what it needs to express, and then teach it to regulate and to be in a calm state. So you're not only allowing yourself to move through this experience, but you're also teaching your body that it's okay and that it's safe.
That's incredible tools that you've all shared. So thank you so much. And as we wrap up, I'm going to ask one last question, because, like, I like to put all of this kind of like into practice, so that we can feel it. So if there is one thing that you would say to your inner child in this moment right now, and feel free to give whatever context you would like to, can you let us know what that is, and also where it is that we can find you if we want to reach out to you for support? Ellie, you want to lead us off?
I'm thinking. Well, one of the exercises that I do is very powerful, and I think there's a lot to get out of that to share with other people. When I know that I'm experiencing something that's rooted in one of the childhood wounds, I go into these visual exercises, mental exercise and I go back to the scenario that I remember. And so understanding, that the concept of time is really just a chronological illusion just for this dimension, then I understand that when I visit that version of myself, when I was 6 or when I was 5, I was already there with her. And so I go and just tell her, hey, it's you from the future. I'm here with you. And it all turns out amazing. So keep going. And I give her those words of encouragement. And so I think that exercise, when you get really deep into, so you relax, you get really deep into your nervous system and then go visit your child, just give him or her words of encouragement, just knowing that everything is going to be okay because you're here.
Awesome. Where can we find you, Ellie?
So Facebook, Ellie Santana, Instagram, Ellie Santana, and on YouTube. Same, Ellie Santana.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the tools. Thank you for the wisdom. Yeah. Danny, would you like to share next?
Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I'm muted to be quiet. So there we go. I'm going to use my voice now. So one of my favorite questions to ask my inner child is, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do today? And that is sometimes, I think Sunshine, you said it earlier, she wants to go get an ice cream, or she wants to go play on the swings, or she wants to take our pug Jake for a walk, right? She wants to color. I'm doing a craft day just for my inner child, that I'm inviting all my friends over to do some crafts. That is totally for my inner child. She's the one that was like, I want a craft day. And I'm like, should we invite friends? And she's like, yes. That is my favorite question to get up in the morning and ask, inner child, what do you want to do today? So that would be my question for you there. The second thing that I would say is, as I mentioned before, any of the things that, journaling and meditation are great. I find that bringing in all aspects of myself, letting them go through the breath work, letting them do the meditation with me, being conscious of how they're feeling before we begin and how they're feeling when we end is just really, really powerful in helping me understand where I am as a whole. I've enjoyed this so much. So first, Kai, thank you so much for the space. Ladies, thank you so much for such great conversation. You can come to Co-Craft Day, Kai. Just come on down to Texas, Central Texas. Come on down. Let's have a craft day together, or maybe we could Zoom it if you're out of the area. I like that. So you can find me. I have a podcast called the Cosmic Mystic Podcast, where I talk all about astrology, sidereal astrology, specifically the healing journey and entrepreneurship and being a spiritual entrepreneur, what that looks like as you're doing the healing work. So you can come on over to there. You can find it at thepeaceteacher.com/podcast, or you can go to the link that Kai dropped in the chat that has all my links to all the things. I do have a 22-day somatic breath work that you can go through, that you can find on that link there to help you move through some of the major themes that we see in spiritual entrepreneurs as they're moving through their healing journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Amy Sue.
There's so many things. What would I leave you guys with? I think I want to cover, what if you don't know your inner child, right? What if this is new to you? What do I do? Where do I even start, right? Because that's a biggie. If you've never even made contact with your inner child, what do you do? I would highly recommend that you just start talking. Just talk to your little self every day. If you had a nickname, call yourself by that. But just say hey, how are you doing? Hey, what's going on with you? I just want you to know I love you. I just want you to know I'm here. Or you can also do what I like to call, where you're going to make contact with journaling. So, and you can do it one of two ways. You can either write to your inner child with your dominant hand, and then you're going to use your non-dominant hand for your little child to talk back to you. And don't worry about if they don't talk back to you. It's not about them communicating with you initially. It's about you making contact. And once you start that contact, you really need to keep it up, because you're building trust. You're building trust with yourself. That's what you're really doing here. You can also use crayon and pencil, or crayon and pen. You can do it any way you want, but make contact with your child. And then once you start that contact, keep that up. And eventually your little child's going to start talking back. You'll start writing, or you'll start hearing, you'll start getting ideas. Things will come. So that's what I would leave you with. If you haven't ever had contact with your child, that's where you start. That's what I would do. And you can reach me at Amy Sue on Facebook. I dropped my Linktree link in my name tag there. If you want to reach me on there, that's where like all my stuff is. I've got lots of great stuff with Inner Child coming up. So I look forward to hearing from you guys, talking to you. If you ever have a question, just reach out and ask a question. Where do I start? Hey, I'm doing this and this happened. What do I do? I'd be more than happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy Sue. All right, Sunshine, you gonna bring us home?
Yeah, but I forgot what the question was.
All good. All good. What would you say to your inner child in this moment, right? And this is a special moment because it's now. It's not the moment that just passed, right? So what does that conversation look like for you in real time?
In real time, it's beautiful. You know, we started the session off. Danny asked, what am I celebrating right now? I'm just celebrating everything. Everything is a celebration, even if it's something that's people don't consider a celebration. Celebrating life, celebrating everything that I have, everything that I am, and letting her know that it's okay to feel all her emotions, all her feelings, all of the sadness, all the madness, all the happiness, the joy, you know, that it's okay to feel. And to, you know, being grateful is so important. And knowing that the past is in the past, the future is not promised, and all we have is this moment. So let's celebrate this moment right here, right now. And, you know, just being love. You are love. You know, that's my love language is love at this moment. But yeah, you can find me. I have my little at Sunshine Warrior LLC. That is the name of my business, and that's on all of my platforms. And I put in the comments my website. I do private retreats here in my home where you go deep, you go fast, and you transmute with love, your own love. And, you know, you are your own inner healer, your own guru. And I just guide and help you figure out how you want to alchemize whatever you need to do. And I do host retreats all over the world too. I have Sedona coming up in Glastonbury, and right here in Florida too. And I do things online. I do private one-on-one sessions. I do group things. So it's all on my website. I think it's in the comments. sunshinesoulhealingarts.com. And, you know, may we all nourish and inspire ourselves and allow it to overflow to everybody else. May we all be happy and free. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sunshine. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Amy Sue. Thank you, Ellie, for just the incredible amount of experience that you've shared here. You know, like someone could have come onto this live stream today, discovered what it means to get in touch with their inner child for the first time, and also made progress with that, and have some exercises, you know, and practices to continue to develop that relationship moving forward. Like what you shared today is extremely valuable, and cannot thank you enough. Also for showing up for the 100 Women to Watch, because this was interesting to watch. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to do this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And yeah, you're welcome. Until we meet again, bye for now, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting the campaign and watching these amazing women, and feel free to get in touch with them if they can support you in any way. All right, take care.